relationships are not complicated. They're not complex. They're easy. They only become complicated when you put inside of the pot stuff that doesn't belong in there. And I gave this analogy earlier last week. I said, if you're making spaghetti and you're making your sauce and you put dish detergent in the sauce, you messed the meal up.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the spaghetti. The spaghetti's fine. You know what I'm saying? But you put something in the sauce that messed the meal up. Relationships are no different.
I am Renee Greer. I'm a psychotherapist in Texas, where I primarily work with couples and men's issues. I'm also pursuing my PhD, currently in the dissertation phase, where I'm studying the conflict in romantic relationships in the Black community. Today, we will have a conversation with Lewis Morris. He's the author of a treatise on cultivating manhood. He's a relationship rescuer. He also is a Get Your Groove Back facilitator. I love it. Yeah. He's the host of the Heart Matters podcast. And today, I want to start the discussion off with, do you even know what you're looking for in these relationships? How important is knowing what you want in relationships? So I'm going to turn it over to you, Coach Morris. Who are you and what's your idea on the topic? Do you even know what the hell you want in these relationships?
Okay. All right. So like she said, my name is Lewis Morris. Thanks for having me on the show, Renee. I really appreciate it. My name is Lewis Morris. I'm a relationship coach. Been doing this since 2018 professionally. I've been doing this since I was 13. Without knowing I was doing it, because I was mentioning today to some people that people just started asking me about relationships in the neighborhood, when I was 13 years old. Mainly at that time, it was just, people that I hung around with, girls and guys that I hung around with. My boyfriend doesn't spend enough time with me. What can I do? Say, how do I talk to this girl so she'll like me? Stuff like that. And then as I got older people started asking me questions about relationships. My husband's not doing this. What should I do? So I've been doing it, for a very long time.
For a minute.
Yeah, for a minute, so, but to answer the question, the reason that it is important to have what I call relationship requirements and to be clear on what they are is once you start to see red flags. Now, mind you, every indicator of a red flag doesn't mean it's a red flag.
Okay,
let's be clear about that.
Let's walk that down. Yeah,
I'm gonna walk it down. Let's be clear about that. When you see a red flag, right, or a sign of a red flag, it is upon you now to have the conversation with the individual about what you observed.
I like it. And you know what I think about right away is responsibility.
Yes.
Right. Because I teach my couples that it is your responsibility. You said that. So when you see these red flags, right, that doesn't mean that the relationship has to be over, but we do need to have a conversation. You and I, we need to have a talk. Do you notice with the couples that you work with that maybe is one of those things that they say, well, yeah, I did notice that, but I just kind of looked past it.
Yes. And that's a problem because what happens is that if you start to continue in the relationship and you start to have feelings for the individual, sometimes it gets harder to break away because now your heart is like involved. So now it's harder for you to break away from the particular person that you saw the red flag from. So when you see an issue that might become an issue, you have to address it then because it may not be an issue. It may just be something that the individual is doing for the moment.
Would you say that not talking about the red flag then becomes the issue? So not the red flag itself.
It becomes one of the issues because now you're establishing something in yourself that could be problematic later, meaning you're not communicating the way you should. You're not bringing things up that could possibly hurt the union, you're silencing yourself. And you can't do that to establish a healthy relationship. There has to be continuous healthy communication. As a matter of fact, I talked about this earlier in the week about couples establishing relationship check-ins. This is a thing, you know what I'm saying? And I said, my recommendation is that you do it every 90 days.
Yes.
It is a quarterly thing. That way you do it 4 times a year, where you sit down and you evaluate with one another. What's working in the relationship? What's not working? You know what I'm saying? Look, there's some things, you know, that you said recently that I didn't care for. And you talk about you get those things out so that they can be dealt with and pushed aside so you can move on. And it's like renewing, it's like a company thing.
Renewing of the mind, if you will. That's what it seems like to me. A renewing of the mind.
Exactly. Right. It's just like when you have meetings in a company. You know what I'm saying? You have meetings, you come together, you know what I'm saying? And you talk about what we need to make the company grow, what's not working for the company. A relationship is like, it's a partnership.
Yes. So
you should have these check-ins. But back to the possible red flag. You have to deal with that when you see it.
Okay, because I wanted to get back to that. Red flags.
Okay.
Break that down just a little bit. What would you consider, just in your experiences, what are some of those red flags?
Okay, one of them is that the individual wants to control every situation. That's a flag, because that's not what a relationship should be based on. A relationship is give and take, it's push and pull. It shouldn't be all pull and pull from one side. No, it should be give and take, push and pull. But if an individual wants to control everything in the relationship, meaning I want to do what I want to do, but I don't want you to do certain things that I don't want you to do. That's a problem, because that's narcissistic. That's a narcissistic pattern that this individual has developed.
Well, let me ask you something. So let's say, for instance, I meet you, right? And we are on our, let's say, 3rd date. And I go into the restaurant and I say, Mr. Morris and I will have the porterhouse, and we're going to sit next to the window. He's not going to have alcohol today. Now he does drink, but I've decided that he's not going to. And then you start to feel like, oh, wait a minute. Like, you know, she hadn't even asked me. Like, she's just doing it. What do we do? What is one to do in that situation? You're feeling it in your body. You're like, she's really kind of controlling. I don't feel comfortable. What do we do?
Okay, you've already done what you.
I've already done what I was going to do.
You already did what you wanted to do. Now it's time for me to do what I need to do. And this is what relationship requirements are. This is what you need to do now, because it's a requirement. It's not just a request. So now I have to sit down and say, I might ask a question like, well, why did you say I wasn't drinking? You know, so just a simple question like that. I may throw that out there. Why did you tell them that I wasn't drinking today? You know that I drink. Why did you tell them I'm not going to drink? You know what I'm saying? And then I will judge your response, not just what you're saying, but your body language, to see, you know, how much discomfort do you have with that question? Because body language, as you know, is like 93% of communication. The rest is just what people are saying. You know what I'm saying? So you have to pay attention to that. You know what I'm saying? Because you may not have meant anything by it. It might have just been something that you've done in the past, right? And the other person just went with it.
Or they liked it. Maybe the other person said, I really like a woman who, and so I've been doing it more because I thought maybe you would too.
Exactly. But however, it is my obligation now to bring it to your attention that that's not my vibe. That's not what I'm on. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate what you did in the past, but just let me, if I want to have a little cocktail, just let me deal with that.
That's right. So, do you even know what you want? I feel like we're still connected to that, because I feel like if I know that I don't want someone who's controlling, right, then I'm going to notice that red flag, right? And like
Okay.
you said, it doesn't mean that the relationship is over. It doesn't mean that, this is a deal breaker. But if I go into this dating process, right, kind of knowing what I want and what I don't want, when I see that, then it's, then like you said, it's your responsibility to first know what it is that you want. Second, when you notice that, okay, wait a minute, this can turn into something if I don't say how I feel about this. And so I'm going to go ahead and say something. That's when you need to say, hey, we need to have the conversation. And actually, I wanted to go to a quote from your Instagram. You said this, and I thought it was profound. Sometimes couples forget to talk about what's in their hearts the longer they've been together. This is not a good thing. Make the time to pour your heart out to one another. And I know in this scenario, we are only dating. This is our third date. But would you say, when you know what you want, that even at this third date, it's still my responsibility to say, I've noticed something and I'm not okay with this. And this is kind of speaking to couples pouring out to each other and saying, hey, this is a challenging conversation, but I got to let you know that I noticed something, and I got to let you know how it feels for me.
Okay. All right. So let's deal with this from a couple of perspectives. One, you have the person has to know whether they want a substantial relationship or not, because some people don't want that.
True.
Some people just want to have fun. They want to go out. You know what I'm saying? They want to have sex with the person. You know what I'm saying? And they're not looking for anything serious. But you have to know that going in, and you have to be comfortable enough in here to articulate that to the person so that they can make the decision. Look, this is the third date. I'm just telling you, I'm not looking for anything serious. You know what I'm saying? I just want to have some fun. You know what I'm saying? If it goes beyond that, fine, but that's not what I'm looking for. Say that. You say, look, understand, relationships are not complicated. They're not complex. They're easy. They only become complicated when you put inside of the pot stuff that doesn't belong in there. And I gave this analogy earlier last week. I said, if you're making spaghetti and you're making your sauce and you put dish detergent in the sauce, you messed the meal up.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the spaghetti. Spaghetti's fine. You know what I'm saying? But you put something in the sauce that messed the meal up. Relationships are no different. Relationships, the ingredients are clear: love, intimacy, affection, spending time together, trust, honesty. These things. What's complicated about these things? No, it's when you start putting, I want to be in control. I'm over jealous. I'm jealous about everything. I want you to do what I want you to do. You start putting these things in the pot. That's when it becomes complicated.
Yeah, and I love that, because I talk with my clients often about not just telling other people the truth about your expectations, but telling yourself, like being honest, right? Like if you know that you're really, and I see this quite often, where you have the female and she's like, I'm really looking for a husband. I want this dating process to end with me getting married. But they meet the young man and he says, I'm not really looking for anything serious. Right. But they starred the process. Already there's two different goals, right? He's looking to just kind of have a good time. She's looking for a husband. And what she did not do was to be honest with herself. This could be, I don't know, I'll ask you, but would you consider this one of those red flags where if you know deep in your heart that this dating process for me needs to end with a husband, and this guy that you meet, I mean, he's awesome. He looks great. He smells great. He's everything that you've ever wanted, but he's telling you, I'm not looking for anything serious. but you continue anyway in hopes that maybe he'll change his mind. Is that one of those red flags?
Yeah, it's definitely a red flag. It's a red flag for her. But understand something, it's her red flag, not his. Because he was honest about not wanting to commit. He was honest, but she stays anywhere. That's her red flag. Because she's thinking, I can change his mind. That's a problem. You know what I'm saying? A relationship is not about changing people's minds when it comes to sticking points. That's not what you're supposed to be doing in a relationship. Again, that's that you may not be a narcissist, but it's a narcissistic behavior to want to change someone from their sticking point.
Well, but I'm sure you see this quite often, because I do. I mean, I see it very often. Where,
I'm sure you do.
where these couples, they come into my office, and I usually want to start at the beginning. Tell me your love story. What happened? How'd you guys meet? And then you the red flags are just flaring. Yeah, like it's red flags coming out of everywhere. This guy is just nothing but red flags. But I thought I could change him. I thought that even though he told me he was not really looking for a serious relationship, he kept going out with me. So if he knows that he wasn't looking for a serious relationship, then he should have stopped taking me out. Right. But all the while he's continued to tell you that I'm not looking for anything serious. And then sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes you get the couples into the office and he has acquiesced. He says, okay, if you want to try this thing out, but he's only given, half of himself because he really doesn't want to be here. Right. And so again, when I go back to the love story and I hear him say that I never wanted this is not what I wanted. And then I have to go back then to what we talked about earlier. Why did you not be honest? Why did you not tell her that this is not what I wanted? Or why did you not tell him this is what I wanted? And so why, just in your personal opinion and from your experience, why do we do that when we know, why do we do it when we know, Coach Morris? Why?
Okay, so I'm smiling because this is not what dudes do. What I mean by that is if we're attracted to a woman, first, we don't just stop dating a woman that we like sleeping with.
Okay, wait a minute. Let's say that again.
We don't. That's not what we do. That's not what dudes do.
Okay, say that again for my ladies.
Men do not just stop dating women that they like sleeping with. We don't do that. That's not what we do. You know what I'm saying? If the woman is attractive, he's physically attracted to her, and she's good in bed. Let's say, the scenario that you mentioned. They've been going out for a month and they've slept together. And she's good. You know what I'm saying? And she's saying to you now, you know what I'm saying? Why didn't he just stop dating me? We don't do that.
I see where you're
coming. That's not what we do. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm attracted to you physically. You're fine. And you're good in bed. I'm just going to stop seeing you. That's not what we do.
Wow. So, and I get that. And I think that it's true because it's happening. They come into the office with these women and I'm, in most cases, and I'm like, well, what are you doing here then? Right. And so there is something that's keeping them there. But I still I'm not looking for what you're looking for. Right. And so, but now listen, does that go back to the statement that I read earlier that we need to make sure that we're talking about the matters of the heart? Right now, if I'm telling you, okay, now I want to go to therapy with you. Right. I want you to come to therapy with me because I feel like we're getting off somewhere. And then I think, do you believe that would be your responsibility to say, well, listen, while I will go to therapy with you, I still hadn't changed my mind, although I'm not ready to stop dating you yet. Because the sex is good. I really enjoy that with you. I will go to therapy. But I want you to understand that I still hadn't changed my mind. Is it time to have that conversation, do you think?
Okay. The woman, if she really wants, now that's the thing. You mentioned that they should know, both people should know what they really want. So the marriage thing for the woman is a sticking point, right? Okay, now they've been together for what, 90 days now. And he's still saying to her, look, I'm not trying to get married. Why is she still there?
That's a good question. Why do you think, just based off of what you know and what you?
It could be a couple of things. It could be one, she's afraid of being alone. Two, you know what I'm saying? She enjoys the sex just as much as he does. Just as much as he does. You know what I'm saying? And she doesn't want to walk away from him, right? Or three, she's fallen in love with him, right? And she is hoping she can change his mind.
She's hoping she can change his mind.
These are, that's it. There's no fourth. Either she's just like, look, I don't want to be alone, so I'm going to settle for this arrangement, right? She enjoys the sex. The sex is great. She doesn't want to walk away from that. Or she's fallen in love with him and she's hoping that she can change his mind. There's no fourth one. Those are only three that could be keeping her there. But the bottom line is that she has compromised her relationship principle. She's compromised that where she wasn't supposed to do that. Understand something. Relationship requirements, they're not negotiable. I'll give you an example. There was a woman that I was seeing a couple of years ago, and we talked early. So I told her early, I said, listen, I have some requirements, with women that I date. I said, one of them is you can't cheat on me. If you do that, we're finished. I'm gonna walk away from you. You know what I'm saying? And I have this this phrase that I use often, right? That I say, I'm going to do what Usher said. So my lady asked me about it last night because we was having a conversation about something. And she said, well, what did Usher say? I said, Usher said, let it burn. Because sometimes when you walk away from somebody, you have feelings for them. You love them. But you have to walk away, right? So I let her know, look, if you do that, I'm gonna do what Usher said. I'm gonna just let it burn, right? And we got into the relationship, you know what I'm saying? And, I started to develop feelings for the woman. And then I found out that she cheated. What did I do?
You let it burn.
I let it burn. Why? Because it was a requirement. I told her that. It wasn't anything. It wasn't a secret. I told her that if you do that, we're not going to be together anymore. She apologized. I forgave her because, forgiveness is good for the heart. So I don't want that stuff sticking in me. So I forgave her for it, but it was clear we can't be together anymore. Why? Because that was a relationship requirement. No one can cheat on me and still be with me. You know what I'm saying? That's just not going to happen. Why? Because that's a requirement that I have to stick to. I can't bend on that. That's what relationship requirements are.
Don't compromise.
You can't bend on those. So if you are dating because you want to get married, that's a requirement. You have to stick with that. You can't be, moving them because then it wasn't a requirement to begin with because you're changing. You're changing now. Just put that in the request category.
And I feel like sometimes the women that I work with, it's out of fear, right? That if I don't compromise, then I will be alone, right? Instead of saying, well, my goal was to have a husband, right, at the end of this dating process. So I have to do what you said. I have to walk away and let it burn. Right. But there's a lot of fear in that, I think, and so I think maybe sometimes that's why. And I see this in both men and women. Right. But the fear is, for one, I don't want to start over. Right. Two, I've invested so much here that I don't want to leave and someone else come along and get an opportunity to benefit from my good work. Right. I'm sure you've heard that one. But it's just kind of this fear that I know this is not what I want. And it's good stuff because it goes back to what we were talking about. Do you even know what you want? And if you do, like you said, no compromising. And when you see that one of those requirements, right, that I just can't let go of this one, right? If you don't see it, then you got to do what you said, Coach Morris, and that's walk away and let it burn, which means that it's not going to feel good, right? But ultimately, in the end of it all, it's going to be for your good.
Okay, so let's look at the alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Again, relationships are complicated. So in a relationship, right, the person is supposed to bring a level of peace and tranquility to your life, stability, right? Like this, you're supposed to be able to trust this individual with your heart, you know what I'm saying, and with your mind, right? But if you start compromising your relationship requirements, you are going to become miserable.
Facts.
Okay, so where's the peace and tranquility in that? So either you're going to abandon the misery, leave, and reestablish your peace with yourself, because that's more important. Because that is more important.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I was mentioning in the room a month ago. I was saying, look, don't let anybody take your peace away from you. You know what I'm saying? I'm really blessed to be in a state of peace. I don't argue. I don't even argue with my girlfriend. We discuss things. We talk. We don't yell. You know what I'm saying? We don't call each other names. No, we talk. That's peace. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to yell and scream with her because I'm not going to allow her to break my peace. I'm not giving that to anybody. I've done that already. I'm 50,
again, going back to that responsibility piece. It's your responsibility, is what I'm hearing you say. Like, if I want that peace, it's my responsibility. I
have to protect it. So I can't, if I give it away, it's my fault. It's not her fault, it's my fault. So if you compromise in an area where you know you shouldn't, you've given it away. You technically have made yourself miserable.
I like this. So this makes me think that, again, going back, how important is knowing what you want in relationships. If you are not clear on what it is that you want, then you could end up compromising, which then leads to your peace being disturbed, is what I feel like you're saying. Exactly.
And the peace is valuable because no one can give that to you except for the Creator, except for the divine. He's the one who gives it to you. Okay, so you're just going to give that away? You're just going to give it up, let somebody take it from you? What sense does that make? No. If you see that this individual is not enhancing your life, and peace is part of that, you need to get out of that, you know what I'm saying? So that you can, and look, okay, let's look at it this way. Okay, when maybe she's afraid that she'll be alone. Okay, well, this guy came to you.
Right.
This guy came to you. So obviously there's some things that are attractive about you. There's some things that guys are attracted to because he came. Okay, so you think just because you leave him, nobody else is gonna come?
But do you think that goes back to, again, what we're talking about? Because maybe we think we know what we want, right? And we kind of go off of what we think. But when or when we're clear what we want, do you think it would be, and I want to say easier to walk away and let it burn? But would you say that you maybe are a bit more motivated? Because I am very clear on what it is that I want.
Right.
And when I know that, that's what I want to see. That's what I want to curate in this relationship. Do you think, like, when we know, and I want to keep saying that because I think that sometimes in relationships, we hadn't really set with that question. What do I want? Mm-hmm. I don't think we've really set with that question. I think what we do is we look on social media and we hear kind of what is kind of out there on the airways about what is a good man, what is a good woman. And then we go, okay, well, that's what I'm looking for, right? Instead of really sitting with it, the question and asking yourself, because what I find sometimes is that when these couples come into my office, what they got was never really what they were looking for. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm learning is that they've entered these relationships without asking themselves these questions. What was I looking for? Right. And so I think as we talk about this, I'm really hoping people will take a moment and say to themselves, have I asked myself the question, what do I really want? Because listening to you, Coach Morris, it sounds like it's going to lead to disaster, possibly, if we don't get clear on what it is that we want. Because if I'm not clear, I'll compromise. If I compromise too much, I'm not getting what I want, which is going to disturb my peace.
Okay. All right. So this is what Kelly did. This is what my lady did. Mm-hmm. She made a list. She made a list of the qualities. It wasn't about money. Of course, she wants a man who can, provide for, but she made a list of characteristics that she wanted the man that she wanted to marry that he had. She read the list to me. She made a list. She wrote it out.
She read the list to you? When did
she read the list to me?
When did she do that? Was this the first date or the second date? Or
this was a couple of months ago.
Oh, okay. Oh, so this is new.
This was a couple of months ago.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So she read but the point that I'm making is she wrote it out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So one of the things about writing is that you're able to get. This is why I have my clients journal. I have them journal, because writing, you can separate the emotions from yourself.
That's
you get
good.
It out of your body. You separate it from yourself, and then you have a different view of it. And then you send it to me, or your client send that to you. Mm-hmm. And then there's another set of eyes and another heart that's examining what was written. Right? Because there's layers to it. There's layers because the heart is like that. It's not just a morsel of flesh in your body. It has the ability to think and motivate. You know what I'm saying? So there's layers to it. So when you have yourself looking at it, because it's separated from your body now, and you have another pair of professional eyes looking at it, then you can get nuances and angles that you never even thought of before, based on what was written. So when she read it to me, we had a dialogue about it. We talked about it. Now, I didn't give too much input into it because I was the guy that was supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't give too much input into. I didn't over-examine it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I really couldn't, because I was the guy who was under the microscope at the time. You know what I'm saying? So I just let her talk and tell me what she thought and the characteristics that she thought I had that were on the list. Okay. Right. So, and to get into detail about that, I wouldn't do it. I would let her talk about it. You know what I'm saying? I would let her talk about the list. I don't really talk about it. I'm just telling you that this is one of the ways that you can be clear on what you want. by writing it out, putting it on paper, right?
Yeah.
And be clear about characteristics that you want.
Yes.
About characteristics that you want. Now, of course, you want an individual who can provide. You don't want to be married to a bum. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about, is he kind? Is he considerate? Does he have the ability to be vulnerable? You know what I'm saying? Put those things on paper that you want. This is what you want in the husband that you're looking for.
No, that's good.
If they don't fit that criteria, if there are things, there are holes in those things that you require,
let it burn.
Hey, listen, again, relationships they're not complicated. We bring things into it that makes it complicated. And this is one of the things that I was talking about earlier today. You know what I'm saying? This is because I don't believe that. Now, other people might make you believe, relationships, marriage is difficult, it's complicated, it's hard. No, it's not. You just have to do the work. Yeah, it's not.
I agree, and I'm gonna tell you why I agree, because what I find is, I'm in a relationship. I've been married for 20. We just had an anniversary, 25 years.
Congratulations!
Thank you for that.
Oh wow!
But so this is what I was thinking about, Coach Morris. Why I think it's so complicated. And I'm going to probably come from the angle of a therapist, right? What I'm realizing, or what I realized some time ago, is that when we have not done the work, right? And for me, that means the inner child work, right? The residue, right, from experiences of our past. When we hadn't done the work, then the unfortunate part is that the 6-year-old in us sometimes will choose the mate. And that's going to make it complicated in this way, right? Just an example. I forget what her name is. Robin Givens, I think. I forget what movie she played on. Boomerang is what it was. But I remember watching her on Oprah. And Oprah was asking her, why would you date Mike Tyson? You're beautiful. You could have any man that you want. Why Mike Tyson? And I remember her standing up and she took the mic and she then started to tell us about her father, who never showed up. A father who she would call and he was not very attentive. He was not very present. And that really damaged her. And she wanted so badly for someone to finally show up. And so she met Mike Tyson, who was a fighter in every way. And I believe he would even beat on her. Like, he was very abusive. And so really that's what Oprah was asking. Like, why would you take this man? You could have anyone. And he's abusive. He's a professional fighter. What are you doing with him? And Robin Givens said something, and I'll never forget it. She said, because he showed up. He was the man that finally showed up in my life. Now, this is how I look at it. The adult her is not who chose Mike Tyson. It's the 6-year-old that finally wanted a man to show up. So when we write out these lists, and if we don't do the things that you suggested we do, Coach, what happens is we'll write this list out as the 6-year-old. We'll write out that I finally, and this is not, maybe they'll just say, someone that shows up, someone who's not late. But this is the problem. The adult is not looking for that. The adult you is looking for a man. The adult you is looking for someone who's caring and compassionate and that can be vulnerable, as you were saying. But the 6-year-old, right, she'll look past all of that. I don't care if he's a fighter. I don't care that he's not compassionate. I don't care, because it's a very immature part of you. So the 6-year-old doesn't care if he beats the hell out of me. He showed up.
Right.
So if you don't, and so I'm saying this because I think what you shared makes so much sense to me. as far as in order for us to really get clear on what we want, writing it down could be very, very helpful for many reasons. But I think one of the reasons that we need to do that is to make sure that when you take it out of your body and put it on paper, that it's not the 6-year-old who did it, right? And you get an opportunity to see that because you go, wait a minute, I wrote this down, but do I really care? Do I really, or you, like you said, you take it to someone like you or myself, and then we get an opportunity to kind of look into it as well and maybe ask those probing questions. And then that's when we can discover that the adult you, this is not what the adult is looking for. This is the 6-year-old.
Yeah. But look, this is the point. This is the point. This is the point of the issue. You have to find out if you want a healthy, substantial relationship. You have to find out. So, and I was mentioning this earlier. You know what I'm saying? How much are you willing to invest in having a healthy, stable, loving relationship? How much monetarily, and how much time and effort are you willing to invest in that? It's up to you. You know what I'm saying? If you just want to keep playing around and then, you know, someone's representative shows up for a while, you know what I'm saying? And then, a year down the line, you see the real person, you know what I'm saying? Because you were ignoring red flags and you didn't have your relationship requirements in order, you know what I'm saying? And now you gotta make another transition out of this relationship, you know what I'm saying, which, you know, might have become abusive. You done got beat up and, you know, verbally abused now. Why don't you cut through all that? Get the help that you need to cut through all that so that you can spot. First of all, you can emanate what you want from the outside, from the inside out. And then when you start to, you know, date an individual, you ask the right questions to begin with. And one of the questions that I tell everybody to ask, like right away, is, why are you dating? I know people don't like it, but no, that's a legit. Why are you out here? What are you looking for? You know what I'm saying? You just want to have fun? You know what I'm saying? Are you looking for something? No, ask that early. There's nothing wrong with that. People look at this stuff and think that there's something. No, you're trying to find someone to share your heart with. Yeah. Your heart is valuable. Now, if it's not valuable to you, you need to get to that point to where it is. So you have to find out who you're dealing with and who it is that you might be turning your heart over to. That's what a relationship is. Because if you get involved with this individual and you start sharing your sexual juices with this individual and you start living with this individual, you're going to become attached to this individual. Your heart is going to become attached to this individual. That's just the way it is. That's the way we are as human beings. We can't shut that off. We just can't. You know what I'm saying? That's why, you know, and I don't mean to be too long. That's why, like, when actors and actresses, they do those scenes in those movies, a lot of them, man, they become couples later. Because you kissing and, you know, feelings become involved. You know what I'm saying? And they want to see this person off set. You know what I'm saying? We can't leave this on the set, you know, because I felt some things. Right. We need to continue finish this up. Yeah, so you have to want to protect your heart. You have to know that it is valuable. So you have to ask these questions. Why are you dating? What is it that you're looking for? Well, see, I don't want to get too deep, but see, you said something, you said something that I find also a lot in my sessions, but you got to know that you're valuable first. And I think this contributes to how relationships start to become so challenging, because we either are walking into relationships with a lie, right? You're not really who I wanted, you are who I settled for. Or we go into the relationship
I don't value myself. I'm hoping, Coach Morris, that you would value me enough so that I could value myself.
Mm.
Now, that also is going to set up some conflict because that's not the other person's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, but yeah, when I heard you say that, it again takes me back to, me have to kind of look at relationships through a therapist lens. And that's one of the things that we see is that you don't value yourself.
Mm.
I want to tell you something. There's this couple that I worked with, and she was about 40 years old, and they had been married for about 10 years. And she just kept saying, he acts like he doesn't like me. He doesn't love me. I don't think he loves me. I just don't think he does, and he's just not doing the things to show me that he loves me and that he cares and that he likes me. And that's just all we talked about. We couldn't get past that point. And so I ended up asking her, I said, can you and I have an individual session? And so she said yes. And so we get to this individual session. And I said, you talk a lot about love, right? And him not knowing how to love you and him not knowing how to like you. So I want to delve into that a little bit. And I said, how old are you? And she then says, I'm 40 years old. And I said, well, and then also, how long have you guys been married again? And she says 12 years. And then I said, well, then I want to know, how do you feel about yourself? Who are you? Like, what do you think about yourself? And I remember her starting to cry, and she was like, Renee, I don't love me. And I had to ask her, I said, you don't love yourself. And in 40 years, because you're 40 years old, you hadn't figured out how to love you. How do you expect him to figure it out in 10 years when you hadn't been able to figure it out in 40?
Wow.
He doesn't. I get it, and I can sit in this moment with you and understand. But there's an elephant in the room. Right?
Why?
He can't do the thing that you hadn't been able to figure out all of your life. Right? Wow. And so again, you're right. Relationships, I would agree. I don't think they are very complicated, but there's all these different little factors and variables, isn't it, that makes it complicated? Because you're talking, Coach, as someone who is saying, by the time you get to me, I'm hoping that you would have already understood this. Right. Or, at least you have a clue, an idea that you need to value yourself. Right. Mm-hmm. This only speaks to why what you do and what I do is so important.
Right.
Right. It only, especially for the Black community, because if you jump to a coach and he's challenging you, right, and he's saying, what do you want? You need to be able to answer that. Right. But sometimes, Coach, we're not going to be able to answer it because, like this last client I was just telling you about, we don't know who we are,
right?
But we want to date, right? So when we don't know who we are, then it just goes back again to how we started this conversation. How important is it that you know what you want? Well, okay. First you got to know who you are.
Okay, well, look, part of what we do is help the person or couple peel back the layers so that they can see who they are. That's part of it. That's part of the deal. Mm-hmm. That's why I have, like, you know what I'm saying? That's why I have this, 12 weeks or nothing less than 6 weeks, because we're going to need time. In most cases, we need time. You know what I'm saying? To peel back these layers so that if you don't know who you are, so we can find out. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because that's going to put you in the best position to succeed in your relationship, to make the relationship fruitful. That's going to put you in the best position. You know what I'm saying? Because it starts with you as an individual, both of you, or you as a single. It starts with you. So we have to peel that back. I'm going to give you an example from my own life. When I was 12, I found out that my father was cheating on my mother. And the way that I found out was that, I didn't witness it, but, we went to this woman's house and he was there instead of being where he was supposed to be, which is home. And to make a long story short, it molded me in a good way because it made me realize, look, I don't ever want to do that to a woman, right? I don't ever want to, have, a woman crying and pleading with somebody the way, my father had my mother, but also I started to hate my father, but I had to get rid of that. You know what I'm saying? I had to get rid of that. But it didn't happen until I turned like 17 years old. All of those years from 12 until I was 17, I hated my father.
Wow.
For that, you know what I'm saying? But I had to get rid of that. You know what I'm saying? I had to forgive him, you know what I'm saying? And understand he's a human being. He's got flaws. He makes mistakes. I don't like what he did, but I have to get over it. You know what I'm saying? Because if I hold that, if I keep that, then that's going to affect me in relationships in the future. It's going to have an adverse effect on me in relationships in the future. So I had to let that go. You know what I'm saying? So part of our job sometimes, not all the time, but part of our job sometimes is to help people let stuff go so that they can move forward.
So that they can see. I would say, you know what I mean?
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So that you can really see, because sometimes I think the experiences, the residue, right, doesn't allow us to really see ourselves. And so when I was listening to you, especially, how you started out saying that at 13 really is when you start to really become interested, in relationships and giving advice. And it seems through all of that, at 12 and the dad and what he was doing, eventually, once you were able to get through all of that, you could see that through the fire, right? It didn't burn me, but what it did is burn off enough for me to see myself, right? And what I see is a coach. What I see is get your groove back facilitator.
Yeah, that's a job. I love it.
So, but listen, we got just a few more minutes, but I want to, can you go into detail just for a moment about two things about your book, but then also what does the process look like? If someone were to call you, what process would they have to go through with you?
Okay, the first thing is that you would set up a consultation call, which is 45 minutes. We would hop on a call and I would first let you ask me questions if you would like. And then I will ask you questions based on what you said. Because my first question is going to be, what's the problem? Or what are the problems? That's my first question. Because I need to know, I need to hear you talk in order to gauge what the problems are and what the problems are that you're not seeing. It's a gift. God has given me a gift. You know what I'm saying? So I have to use this gift to help people with it. So when the individual or individuals are talking on the call, it's not just what they're saying. There are most cases, there are underlying issues that they're not getting. So then I'll come back based on what I've gauged with a series of questions. Normally it's about 3 because it's 45 minutes. It's only about 3 questions that I'll ask. I'll write them down while they're talking. And then after they finish talking, I'll ask them these 3 questions just to see if I'm in the ballpark. And then when they answer, right, and I see that I'm in the ballpark, I'll be like, okay, would you like for me to help you with these things? That's, because, and then I'll inform them, look, there's going to be an investment in monetary investment, is going to be investment in time and effort. You're going to have to do some work in order to get rid of these issues and these problems.
Nice.
If they agree to work with me, I give them prices, I send them a contract, I send them a welcome email, I send them a sheet to fill out, a worksheet to answer some more questions before we get on our first call, because I need more information, so I can begin working right away. And then once they send that, they send everything back to me, and then we start scheduling the calls, whether they get the 6-week plan or the 12-week plan. And then there's journaling and there's action steps, there's what I call the 3 R's, reflect, refresh, and rebuild, which I won't go into because, a lot of details and a lot of technical stuff involved in that. But that's the beginning of the process. And then the process goes for 6 to 12 weeks, and we just build from there. As far as the book is concerned, this book I had to write.
This is your baby, I can tell.
It's called A Treatise on Cultivating Manhood. It's my favorite of the 3. I have 3 books on Amazon, but this one is my favorite because I felt that it was necessary because, I didn't even know how necessary it was until I got on Clubhouse.
Oh boy!
Now,
yeah,
because but in any case, this is what I did with the book, and it's just a treatise. It's only like 22 pages. It's short. Because I didn't want it to be a book. I wanted it to be a treatise that a man or a mother could take and read to her son, or a man could take, and it's a brief read. It's nothing, it's nothing too big. So what I did was I took 3 foundational principles, and these are the 3 principles that manhood should be built on. Everything is about foundation. You can't build a building without foundation. You can't establish a relationship without a foundation. There has to be a foundation that is being built, whether it's just sexual. Some relationships, look, we just want to get our freak on. But that's a foundation. It's not a good one. It's not a great foundation, but it's a foundation. Everything has that. So manhood is no different. So the 3 are trustworthiness. Truthfulness, right? He's truthful. The second is courage. And the third is passion. These are the 3 principles that manhood are built on. Truthfulness, courage, and passion. A man should have those 3 in abundance.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
Right. And then the other things that I mentioned are the things that you build on those pillars. Responsibility, cleanliness, which many men don't think is important, but it is. Strength, not just physical strength, but strength in faith, right? To have some connection to the Creator, because I think that makes us better, to have some connection with Him. I'm not talking about religion. If you want to, practice a certain religion, that's fine too. But what I'm saying is you should have a connection with the Creator where you communicate with Him often. Right? So you should have strength of faith, and you should have some physical strength. Men shouldn't be weak. We shouldn't be weaklings, physically, right? And then I talk about give advice. I give some advice to the women on how to choose.
Okay, so women need to get, there's a benefit for women as well.
What they should look for in finding a mate. And there's 2 things that I mentioned. One, his belief, his faith. And second, his character.
Okay.
How does he treat the people in his life? How does he treat the waiter at the restaurant? How does he, how does he treat the gas, the guy that he's going to get the gas from? You know what I'm saying? How does he treat you? You know what I'm saying? This character is very important, because if he has bad character, you don't want to be with this individual, because some things are going to come out that are going to be unpleasant that you're not going to want to be around. So the book is just like that. Like I said, it's only 21 pages, and I had to write that book. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't even realize how valuable it was, like I said, until I went on Clubhouse, and then
oh yeah, look, that's a whole nother conversation. We'll have to do that one some other time.
It is
a treatise on cultivating manhood.
That's the name of it.
The issues of manhood has been distorted in society. Now, if that doesn't sound like a good damn book right there, like, and what I love about it is the fact that you're right, women could benefit quite nicely from this as well. Coach, you are amazing. You really are.
I appreciate it, Renee. Thanks.
I love your passion. I love how your approach to working with couples, and it's not watered down. Like, it seems like you really do get to all the moving parts. Let's take a look at all the moving parts so we can create something together that's going to work for you. So I feel like there's so much more to you. I really do. I feel like I want to know more. I do. And I'm gonna tell you why. I feel like there's, I'd really like to, probably just a therapist in me, I don't know. I really like to hear more about the 12-year-old that became the 13-year-old, that became the 19-year-old, that became the 30-year-old, that became the Get Your Groove Back facilitator.
Okay, if you want a brief piece about it.
No, right? I don't want to see this. This is the problem.
You want a brief piece?
I'm a therapist, so no, I don't want nothing brief. I want the story. I want.
Okay, well,
I want to know, like, how does a Black man go through all of that, right, and come out of that and end up as Coach Morris? That's what I want to know. I think it's just, it would be helpful. It would be beneficial, to the community. And it's something that I feel in my spirit. And like I said, I think maybe that's the therapist in me raising up, right? When I heard you say, well, this is when I started, or really leaning into it, is at 13. And you come back and you tell me the story of the 12-year-old boy. I'm going, oh, the therapist in me stood up. But we'll probably have to do that again. But I want to leave it open to you for a moment. Is there anything that you feel like you need for the listeners to know that you don't think we went through? And I feel like as it relates to this topic, I definitely feel like we'll have to bring you back to just get more into this as well. But is there anything that you feel like we didn't cover that's really important before we end? Okay.
All right. So what's really important is that I understand that this is a service. I'm a service guy. But part of it is that, like Jay-Z said, right? Jay-Z said the object of it is not to be rich and famous. The object is to take the gift that God has given you and use it to your maximum potential. That's my job. You know what I'm saying? To help people with intimate heart matters to my maximum potential. And he's given me these gifts where I can talk to people, feel comfortable opening up to me about these things. They don't have any qualms about sharing these intimate matters with me. Why? It's a gift. You know what I'm saying? There's thousands of people, you know what I'm saying, that they would never talk to about these things. But they jump on a call with me and they just start saying, oh, well, Louis, this is what's going on. Or Louis, that's what's going on. Why? It's a gift.
It's a gift.
So I have to be careful with the gift, but I have to use it to help as many people as I possibly can. And I love to do it. It's not even like a job to me. It's just, I love it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing that I would want people to understand and know the most, is that, I have these gifts that God has given me, and I love using these gifts, because if I don't, it's a form of ingratitude, and I'm not really into that. That's not my thing. That's not my thing.
Now, for those that's ready to peel the layers back with you, how do they get in contact with you? Okay, first, I encourage you, follow me on Instagram, because I'm always giving daily relationship tips and advice. I'm coming like that every day. I'm coming, right? And you can go to the bio link. You can schedule a call there. If you just want to go to the website, look at the website first, and go over there and see what I have to offer. You can schedule a call over there, or you could just go to my link tree, which is linktr.ee/Louis Morris. Right? Just go there,
link tr.ee/LOUISMORIS, and you'll find everything there. Everything's in my link tree. If you want to, follow me on Instagram, you want to just visit the website, schedule a call, you can find everything there. I appreciate you having me on, Renee. It was a blast.
You are amazing. And then, like I said, we definitely have to do this again. How important is knowing what you want in relationships? I love this. I just feel like we just really have kind of scraped the surface just a little bit. But this has been absolutely amazing. Be honest is what I heard you say. Write it down.
Yes.
No compromising.
No.
And when you realize that what you have and what you want is not lining up, you got to let it burn,
let
baby.
It burn, like Usher said.
Let it burn. You have been amazing. Thank you so much today. Guys, this is Renee Greer, psychotherapist in Texas, and this has been a blast. Thank you for listening. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.